Jill, welcome to Crosswalk Talk. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We are talking to Jill Wagner, and Jill, you have a new Great American Family special called Christmas at the Farm with Jill Wagner and Family. I really enjoyed watching this and previewing it, so great job with it.
Thank
Um,
you. Yeah, thank
get
you. We're
for
really
the
excited about it.
for those who haven't seen it, what is it? Give us a preview of it.
This is something so special and unique for me. I'm actually inviting the audience into my home and onto my farm with my most cherished people, my family, and you get to meet my friends. You get to step into my world, and not that that's so special, but I think the I'm trying to remind people of what's so special about Christmas, and that is just the simple things, and it's family, faith, friends, food, giving. I mean, those are five things that are really important to me, and I wanted to remind myself of that, and also in the process remind everybody else that that's really what the season is about.
You and your husband have a farm
We
or a
do.
homestead. I don't know what to call it. What do you guys do on that farm? What do you grow? Do you have animals? For
We
those
we We do. We have a working farm. We have cattle. Now we're not here enough to actually have all of the things that we will have. Like I'll have chickens, I'll have goats, I'll have it all because I'm a huge animal lover. Don't tell my husband that we're gonna have all that because he's not, he may be a chicken or two, but he doesn't know about the 20 dogs and the goats and all that. But yeah, for right now, we have cattle. And it is just a beautiful place. I mean, we moved from Los Angeles and we wanted to find a place with land, with an old house. There were some specific things that I wanted, and we came across this piece of property in East Tennessee, and I was done.
Yeah, I'm curious. Did you grow up wanting a farm? Did he grow up wanting a farm? How did this start?
Well, he grew up in Vancouver. So I don't think oddly enough, my husband is Polish and he came from a long line of farmers over in Poland, but he grew up and he wasn't around it or anything. I grew up on my grandfather had a small little farm, and so I grew up around it, but quickly wanted to get away from it in my teenage years and in my 20s. I just wanted the big city, and so I did that, and then quickly, well, I guess probably in my 30s, understood that it felt like I was missing something, and all the just being on a farm, being in nature. I mean, that's where I really connect to myself. So we found this piece of property, and it's just, yeah, never turned back.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. You may have kind of answered the question, but I would think um, it's completely opposite from being in Hollywood and the
Yes.
city life. So does it kind of give you a balance in life of you've got this special and um, you got Hallmark Channel specials, you got Great American Family stuff, you have I think a Peacock as well, and you have
Paramount
all
Plus. Yeah.
yeah Paramount Plus. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
But you have all these things that people are striving for, but then you get to go back to the farm and kind of get back to reality, I guess. How does it help your career in terms of helping you stay balanced mentally and maybe even spiritually?
Yeah, I think it's everything. I mean, I'm a pretty normal gal, I would think. And I it's a necessity for me to be in nature and to be my home has to be a calm place. And I think for 20 years when I lived in Los Angeles, it never quite felt like home. But this land, this farm feels like home. Although I was raised in North Carolina in a small little town, and I think the small town mentality I feel really connected to. I like to know my neighbors. I Those are the things in my life that I find important. So it's just really important, especially now that I have children. I think that was the kicker. Now that I have children, I want that for them. I think it's really important that they grow up around people that they know and that help them and that they can help. And it's just the part of life that I really love.
And eggs are so expensive, Jill, that you need to have those chickens, of course, with as many with as many kids as you have. You got to get those eggs going.
Tell me
Uh,
about it. Eggs. Who knew that eggs were going to be so expensive?
I think that's what I want for Christmas is eggs. They're so expensive. Um, you have a chapel on that property. Give us a preview of the chapel because folks can see the chapel, when they watch the special.
Chapel. It's my favorite part of the property. When we first found this property, it was falling down, and the chapel was certainly in a state of disrepair, and there was an owl living in the chapel. It was really bad, but I promised God, I said, you know what, if we get this property, I promise I will restore this. And we just got through restoring it this year. And it's just a quiet place where, people always ask me, what do you do with the chapel? You go in there when you need quiet, and you pray. And I think it's very important for David and I, my husband, to be able to teach our kids that is a place that they can go in 24/7. And I think I hope it's going to become a really important staple in their life. And it will be a place that they want to go, and that they can connect.
Yeah, because you guys were looking at this property several years ago. You say in the special that you didn't think you could afford it, but you promised God that if somehow you could buy the property, that you would restore it, and that's what you did.
Yeah.
How did you and your husband meet? I'm asking because it almost sounds like a rom-com in of itself.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
you
You have
guys,
no idea.
well, go ahead. You guys met when you were young, and then you reconnected years later, I believe.
We did. I'll keep it really short, but there's so many different interesting parts to the story. But we met when I was a teenager. I was 17 and he was in his 20s. And we met, he was playing hockey. I snuck out of the house to go play pool one night, and he just happened to be there with his goalie partner. And we met, we went on 3 dates, and then he left to go back to Canada, never called me. I was devastated. 17 years later, I went to Afghanistan on a USO tour. He just happens to be on one of the 12 bases that we went to, and came up to me and asked me, did you date a hockey player, a goalie? And we connected there, but I was dating somebody, he was dating somebody. So it was just like a quick, wow, great to see you in this weird place in the world. And then 3 years after that, walked right into him in LA. And it was pretty much, we kind of knew at that point that we were like, okay, there's a reason this keeps happening. And then 3 months after that, we were engaged, and then quickly married, and moved from LA that same year, and renovated this house, and then got pregnant. And then everything happened so quickly, but it was the most incredible time. I still look back at that time and think, did that actually happen? Like, we were living in our own movie. It was a rom-com, and I'm going to make that movie one day. I just have to find the right person to make it with. But it was truly incredible. My friends around me were just like, I can't believe this is your life. I'm like, I can't either.
Yeah, that's the plot of, like, I don't know how many rom-coms. They meet early in life, they move away, and then they reconnect. That's the plot. So
Yeah.
yes, I agree.
Yeah.
You've got to make that. One of the coolest traditions that you and your husband have is writing letters to one another around Christmas time. That's kind of a lost art in our society. So
It is.
tell me about why you guys started that, and why that's so important, and maybe why other people should do it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was something that my dad started a long time ago. And I will be honest with you, when I was young, I dreaded writing those letters. I would be like, oh, it'd be like Christmas Eve. And I'm like, oh, I gotta write this letter to my dad. But he required it. He was like, I don't want anything else. I want the letter from you that talks about your year. Tell me what you appreciated. Tell me what your troubles were. Just go through it. And now that I'm older, I see what a gift that was in reflection. My dad wanted us to, he's very smart. He wanted us to reflect on that year, and he wanted us just to take a moment, right? Because you don't do that when you're young. You don't do that when you're old. We always are on the go, go, go.
Yeah.
And I think those letters have become so special to me. First of all, I can go back and read them and think, oh, what a gift that is. It's almost like a journal. But then more than that, you really are forced to sit down and think about things. And
Mhm.
no matter if you know if that does good for you or not, it does do good for your soul and connection and to be appreciative of the things that you've been given and the time that you've been given. And so we, in meeting David, I told him what a special tradition that was for me. And so we do that every year, and I'm going to force my kids to do it, and they're going to hate me for a little while, but then they're going to love me.
So the kids will write a how do you see that? The kids will write a letter to each other or to you
No,
or
no, they
what?
all write a letter to us. It all goes
Okay.
to your, so David and I write a letter to each other, and
Okay.
then the kids write a letter to us. And
Okay.
it really is now my dad has always been a really, really wonderful letter writer. But we never required him to write a letter to us. That was just, he just did that. And of course I love that too. So I'll wind up, I'll say my words to my kids, but I really want them to take the time to sit down.
Mm.
And I also have a book in the house that I've started. So anyone that's here on Christmas Eve, our house is a bit of a revolving door on Christmas Eve. Friends come in, neighbors come in. So I have this book laid out, and I've asked everyone if they're here during Christmas to please write something in the book. So that's become a little bit of a tradition too. But yeah, I agree, letter writing is a bit of a lost art, and I love it so much. If you go back and look at all the letters from World War II,
Absolutely.
I found all of those letters that my grandparents wrote to each other when my grandfather was on the ship, and they're just priceless. It's priceless. So I think history needs to repeat itself a little bit, and people need to get back into that.
Yeah, so much of our history is based on letters. We read,
Yeah.
you can go back and read the letters between Abraham Lincoln and his wife and
Hmm.
the Reagans and so on and so forth. And we don't even do that anymore. Let me ask you one final question, kind of a humorous question. Your husband was a hockey player. Did you like hockey, or did he teach you to like hockey? Does he still
So
watch
funny.
hockey?
It's so funny. I should be embarrassed to answer this question because everybody that knows me is like, you need to learn the teams that your husband has played for. I don't even know the teams. No, absolutely not. I was not a hockey fan. I could have cared less. This is how shallow I was in my 20s. I was like, you're hot. You are a very handsome man, and that is all I cared about. I mean, it's so bad, but I'll just be completely honest. Now, obviously, later on in life, he was still really hot, but it was that conversation, that connection. But no, I could care less. I could care less what he does. I mean, I don't care if he you know worked at the gas station. I don't care. He's just he's the love of my life. He's just my best friend, and that connection, when you have it, you don't have to work for it. It just is there. And so it was so easy for me. It was the first time I've been in a relationship that was just, I was like, gosh, when does the hard part start? And it hasn't started yet. He's been, knock on wood, he's been pretty good to deal with.
Amen to that. Well, you've got to write that into the movie, your dislike of hockey, when you do have this movie about you and your husband. Okay, that'll be a good humorous plot.
Absolutely.
We've been speaking to Jill Wagner. Jill, thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Michael.